Hello, everyone. Welcome to Eternal Brews. And yes, hello, YouTube. My name is Pojo. We are live right now on Twitch and recording our first brew of Argent Depths, which, oh man, have I been having a blast with so far. Really good set so far. A lot of interesting things to be doing. Influence Matters has been like a very cool setup. It's, it's very much like Landfall, but also like a little bit more interesting and exciting, which is hard to do because Landfall is a really interesting mechanic that happens to play super well. We have been playing around with Clockroaches. We've been playing around with some like heavy influence decks. We've been doing a lot of drafting and limited stuff. But the deck that we've had the most success with thus far is our Ironthorn deck, which does not include my favorite Martial Ironthorn. It actually includes Ironthorn Lawman. This is a real strange one. So the name of the deck is called Sincere Flattery. It is a Learned Imitator deck, and the idea behind it was to play Learned Imitator with a decent amount of targets for Learned Imitator so that you could get some good benefits off of it, while also playing a wide variety of Surge cards and basically just very difficult power bases so that you could play Learned Imitator in addition to all of these other actual cards that you want to play. In addition, we were going for an Ironthorn theme. We were going to go for a Throne deck, but ended up being able to build it in Expedition due to the strength of Ironthorn Lawman, who has Surge, gain an additional influence of the type, and Summon Plunder, all of which is good for making sure that you have a lot of influence of particular types, which is very important, and also allowing you to trigger stuff such as Battery Mage surges with extreme prejudice. So that's +1 maximum power plus an additional maximum power for each influence that you are playing. And with Ironthorn, surging gains an additional influence of the type, which is pretty ridiculous if you are playing with like any type of influence at all, because you get just a wild amount of extra influence out of the card. It's very good with all of the double influence cards, and it just so happens that we are playing entirely double influence cards. We have Fire Symbol, Time Symbol, Justice Symbol, Primal Symbol, and then 4 Celixes or 12 Celixes of particular colors: Rakano, Skycrag, and Elysian, primarily focusing on Primal since we are trying to get that Learned Imitator going. So the basic idea behind this deck is it is a Worldpyre and Imitator deck. We are using these cards to cheat out particular combos and really kind of pressure people with the Surge setups. So we have a lot of very difficult 5-drops that play very well with influence triggers. We have Battery Mage, which gives you a lot of extra power to play other cards. We have Jotun Bonebreaker, which allows us to discard a bunch of cards from our hand that we don't want and then draw new cards. Notably, this Surge does trigger one at a time, we have learned. So you'll discard a card, you'll draw a card, you'll discard a card, you'll draw a card. You won't just discard your entire hand and then draw a bunch of cards afterwards. You do have to actually get, you do have a random chance of like discarding whatever it is that you're drawing. But it still allows you to replace your hand a bunch and also create a +10/+10 unit in fairly short order using Ironthorn Lawman. Ijin Walking Armory and Master Conjurer fix power and also allow you to get some extra bonuses from having that power out. Telut the Iron Gate basically completely shuts off your opponent's stuff, which is really aggressive in Ironthorn. It turns off all the revenge units, decay units, basically just all of the like really ridiculous stuff. It tends to end the game very quickly when it's played out or when it's imitated through Learn Imitator, because if you play this out and you have Ironthorn out and you play something like a Primal Sigil, that's an immediate -3 to their entire board. If you remember how devastating a Telut attack can be, Telut the Iron Gate can be even more devastating than that, apart from the fact that it doesn't get you any additional maximum power. Yushkov Brutal Tyrant has some nice influence gain, and it's just sort of like a fun way to throw things at enemies and solve particular problems. Karvet Redeemed is a massive influence generator that we are only fetching off of certain primal setups. Notably, we do not have Shadow in this deck, but we can get it through Forbidden Research because the card does gain Shadow influence on occasion. So when we're all done with our justice and we're just digging into our later stuff, lots of good stuff happens. And so that's all of the imitator stuff. We basically imitate all of these objects to create particular solutions to particular problems and to trigger very aggressive surges off of Ironthorn Lawman. Later on, we can also trigger other surges such as Severin of the Dark and Svetya Lightbringer, and we can start trying to play into some very big cards like Zaxo Leviathan. There's some interesting stuff happening there. A lot of this is brought about by the fact that the deck contains 4 copies of Worldpyre, which is the other theme of the deck. Once per turn, you can pay 4 to play a card from your hand that with cost equal to or less than your total influence. Once again, every single card that we play costs double influence, so we will always have exactly twice as much, with Martial Ironthorn even more, or rather with Ironthorn Lawman even more. So we will get to 12 drops and 9 drops, similar to a Greedthorn setup, very, very quickly. You can play this on turn 4, and then immediately on turn 5, typically play out at least a Channel the Tempest, and often even an 8 of the Huru, of which there are 4 of each. We also use Shen-Ra Speaks because it's a great way to wrath the board, and mess up a bunch of stuff such as Ikaria, which is a particularly difficult option. Ikaria First Reaper is fairly scary for this deck if you aren't killing it with Shen-Ra Speaks, so that's something that we want to do. Beyond that, yeah, Forbidden Research gets us some interesting card draw and some extra surge fixing. Petition allows us to pick out particular Silexes and fire symbols we need. Since the objective is to assemble a lot of power base early, this deck is definitely very slow and difficult to play, but in the current format, with a lot of people sort of experimenting with decks and also with a lot of people playing with very difficult surge targets, there is a lot of depleted power going out right now. There's a lot of slower starts, which gives us a lot more potential to access the like turn 4, turn 5 ridiculousness that we really want to access. So that's the deck. Let's go into some games and see y'all there. It's going to be pretty good times. All right, up against Alakazam, we got Elysian Silix, Time Symbol, and Justice Symbol. So, notably, the power base does not support anything in our hand. The main thing that we're looking for is a power base that supports cards in our hands or that can more effectively get into other fixing. If we could play Forbidden Research, then we could fix for like Justice and other things like that, but this doesn't look like a hand that we want to keep. Skycrag Silix channel Battery Mage is a little bit more interesting. It's got a little bit of late game in here, but nothing really to look forward to in the early game, so I think we're going to just go ahead and pitch and go for 6. Alright, yeah, a little bit more on par here. We've got Time Symbol, we've got Skycrag Silix and Rakano Silix. We can't play the Silixes in the way that we want to, but we can at least go Time into Primal, then Skycrag Silix will be undepleted, which will allow us to play Master Conjurer on turn. And that'll start setting up Learned Imitator, which is going to be good news for us. So there's double Primal, double Time. Skycrag Silix is going to be next, and then we play down Master Conjurer on 3. We got a Battery Mage. Good to see that. And we need just one more Primal to play Learned Imitator, which is going to be a big deal. Alakazam playing Wisdom of the Elders. We got an Island's Favor here, so we know we're facing something Huru. We don't know what yet. Lots of different potential options. All right, Cobalt Waystone, Honor a Clause. And drawing and discarding gets us Strategize. So yeah, gonna be taking the slow approach, which is perfectly fine by us. Here we just want to go for Rakano Silix. Swing in. Try to get set up a little bit better. We are now able to play pretty much any Silix that we like, and we can learn to Imitator this turn to set up extra power or to set up new influence that we might need. Although Turn to Seed does turn that off, so now we're looking for just the ability to play Battery Mage out and start ramping up to some pretty scary stuff. Okay. So with Turn to Seed being thrown out, like this is probably that kind of like Avagrafty Turn to Seed deck where you're trying to punish your opponent for playing different cards. We have a decent amount of spread in our setup. We have a lot of like aggressive 5-drops in different types, so we shouldn't get hit by Turn to Seed too badly, although notably the cards in our hand are cards that we have multiple copies of, with the exception of Severin of the Dark. So yeah, need to do a little bit of work here to get everything working, but I think that we should be able to do that without too much issue. Petition gets us a Justice option or plays Learned Imitator for us. Either one's going to be great. Ironthorn would be nice here, but I actually think that I'm probably more interested in grabbing a Silix and then getting the Learned Imitator out this turn. So play that Elysian Silix. We get a fresh Treasure Trove, and then we get to Learned Imitator immediately, transform it into whatever we like. Yushkov Brutal Tyrant, Ijin Waking Armory, Karvet Redeemed gets us blue influence, which is kind of nice. Doesn't get us green influence though, which is notably a little bit more difficult. Ironthorn is kind of cool, but I actually think I like Karvet here since we have the Severin of the Dark. That gets us a 0/6 to deal some damage. That's a good option. The other option that's pretty good is Telut the Iron Gate. and Battery Mage. I think we'll go with Battery Mage here, since Battery Mage allows us to get up to channel the Tempest pretty easily. Notably a tricky turn to seed, because if they have a second turn to seed here, we do lose the Battery Mage in our hand. Okay. Getting that early Hailstorm out. There's a Skycrag Silix, so Battery Mage here. Followed with another Silix. Puts us up to 10 power, and now we can channel the Tempest if we want to. As well as do some treasure troving. Found the Justice for Ironthorn Lawman, which is going to be good stuff for us. Okay, Svetya's Sanctum's a slow card. Hopefully we won't see anything that kills Battery Mage here, because we really want to channel. Once we play the Justice symbol down, Ironthorn will be available, and we can start doing yet more crazy nonsense, so... all good there. Oh, is there going to be an unseal? Alright. Justice symbol throws out, and Forbidden Research can get a Shadow for Severin, which is going to be a pretty big deal as well. I think attacking here is fine. We might hit... Lightning Strike is an available option. I would be more worried about Defiance, but being stunned isn't the worst thing in the world here. Okay, hitting a Transpose gets us a 4-cost spell of some kind, so Svetya's Sanctum is going to be a little bit tricky here. But I am getting close to Severin, so that's something to pay attention to. And Forbidden Research is going to do a lot for us too. Not sure what Rain of Frogs can hit here that's going to be really bad for us. They might go after Severin, since Severin is probably the scariest threat. They could go after Ironthorn, but I don't think that's really the right card. Okay, yeah. So Severin is out. That loses us the ability to do something particularly threatening this turn. But it's not really the end of the world for us. And opponent's got some 4/4s, some pretty big stuff, but isn't, like, blowing us out of the water with their power. Alright, so first thing we want to do is we want to play Ironthorn Lawman. That can transmute this frog into usable power, or it can transmute power into usable treasure troves. So, Skycrag Silix seems reasonable since it's undepleted. I think we'll go ahead and do that first, and then we'll throw Forbidden Research. See if we can't pick up some cards that are going to be useful to us. Petition and Fire Symbol. Fire Symbol is not really on my list, neither is the Froggo, so we ditch those two. Get some Shadow Influence, get some more Shadow Influence. And Karvet can increase that Shadow Influence even further, although I think the correct play here is Treasure Trove. Ooh. Learned Imitator is great here, but not the thing that we need to do right now. Worldpyre is definitely amazing, and probably the card that we want to play most. So if I play Learned Imitator here, I can get a reasonably aggressive option like Telut out early, but I think the correct thing to do is to wait and play Learned Imitator next turn. Worldpyre does seem good, so we're probably going to ram that down right now and just get it moving. Opponent has 2 4/4s and a 1/1. They haven't addressed any of our current setups, so we have to assume that they are not in great shape to do so. Now, but Hailstorm does wreck us, so that's going to be a bit of a problem. Still, not the end of the world. Okay, so we have Learned Imitator. These 4/4s here are a pretty big problem, but can be addressed somewhat with Learned Imitator turning into a Telut. And then just playing a Karvet would be pretty solid. Savage Incursion draws some cards here, so that's going to be a bit more of an issue. I think we just slam Telut the Iron Gate. Go ahead and play our Elysian Silix. We get to Treasure Trove once. Svetya Lightbringer is great, but the correct play here is Karvet, since that allows us to trigger some damage. And turn all of these Emerald Incarnations into useless humps of slag. So, yeah, pretty good stuff on that front. Svetya Lightbringer is now available. We can play that down, get a Justice Sigil out, and start ramping up all of the stuff in our actual deck. Harsh Rule clears the board. We still have the ability to get ahead of this, though. Gonna be a pretty rough game. Both of us are playing very heavy control, so we need to get similar goals achieved. I think the correct thing to do here is Treasure Trove. Ijin walking Armory is very cool. So 2, 3, and Justice Symbol does not make 4. I believe the correct thing to do here is Ironthorn. We can transform this Petition into a power, which might be reasonable. Or we could transform Ijin into a power, or we could transform a power into a card draw. I think the Petition into a power is the correct way to go. So play down Svetya using our Worldpyre. That'll lock them out of units, but they won't actually be able to respond to it in any meaningful way, since the card has Aegis. Okay, see a Wisdom there. And Justice Symbol here gets us 4 triggers of Svetya, making everything in our deck a lot tougher to deal with. Alright, so Ijin can now trigger and give us a +4/+4 weapon on anything that we play. Stormholt Knife is a scary customer, but not the end of the world. And the 3/3, I think, is something we just want to block here, since it won't really do to take any more damage at this point. Alright, here's an Ijin. And it's an 11/11, which is great stuff. It's the first time, I believe, that you play a unit each turn, so an 11/11 is pretty solid here, but we might want to go for a Learned Imitator as well. I'm thinking about what kind of cards we have access to, and probably the one I want the most right now is Telut the Iron Gate. No, not Telut the Iron Gate. We want our Jotun Bonebreaker, because we need some new cards at the moment. So we'll Surge, discard a card. We found our 8 of the Huru. And we can play that and draw some new cards. Get some extra life going. Ah, there's even a Battery Mage in there. Looking quite strong. Harsh Rule again, scary customer, but not the end of the world. Looks like we're having a very interesting knockdown drag out here. Strategize is a single 2-drop, which, yeah, that's something we might want to deal with in a moment. I can play Battery Mage into Elysian Silix to get extra power this turn. But I believe my first turn is just going to be a straight-up 4-cost Channel the Tempest. Okay, Transpose protects their face, unfortunately for us. But we still get to draw 3 new cards. There's a Forbidden Research, an 8 of the Huru, and another Worldpyre, which we can use now to play a second card for the turn, this 8 of the Huru. Follow that up with a little Seed. And we're clearly off to the races. Okay, so 4 4s and 4 6s. They are running short on Harsh Rules, most likely. 2 Harsh Rules played so far, 27 cards in their Void. And we're currently 39 to 32. I've drawn more cards than them. Turning to Seed an Owl does not really do much here. Though it is notably somewhat aggressive as an option. Turning to Seed a turn to Seed is actively hilarious in a number of different ways. Okay, so yeah, now we can go for... I could do another Learned Imitator if I wanted to, but I believe that 8 of the Huru is perfectly respectable here. So let's do... We could do a Battery Mage first to take advantage of the cards that we haven't drawn yet. I think that seems reasonable to me. There's our Zaxo Leviathan. Boy, do we want to do something with that. And Forbidden Research seems like a reasonable option here, since that allows us to dig in and find some better cards. Another Worldpyre, an Ijin Walking Armory. We need some symbols, but I think I actually mostly want to ditch at least one Battery Mage, since Turn to Seed is a bit of an issue here. Okay, up to 19. Have stunned their entire board, have some flyers. They said good game, which may mean they're actually out of this. Hard to say for sure. We are back up to 20 health, and we're getting closer to more Channel the Tempest, which is going to be a pretty big deal for us. Also, we have more Worldpyres, so we can potentially play a lot more cards. Reread picks up Harsh Roll, which then clears the board again. Island's Favor provides an Aegis, so that's something we're going to have to address if we're going to be doing Channel the Tempest here. Rakano Silix provides power for us, so we'll probably do a Battery Mage first. Just play that Treasure Trove out. Learned Imitator is something, but not really doing any favors for me at the moment. Shen-Ra Speaks clears their board at least. And Petition gets us more power cards, specifically Silix's, so that we can play whatever we want. I want that Zaxo Leviathan, but I'm also a little concerned. There's a lot of ways that could go wrong. Okay, Karvet Palace is something we can probably address. We're going to have to figure out what Learned Imitators can do at this point. The card I most need right now is Channel the Tempest, since that's an easy way to actually address the problem. Okay, so several choices here. Let's start with Learned Imitator and see what we can grab. Telut's interesting. Yushkov, Brutal Tyrant is pretty simple. Probably one of the easiest ways to just get in there and kill this. Skycrake Silix gives us another Treasure Trove option. And Ironthorn Lawman is a good old 7/6. Certainly have no reason to be annoyed with that. Let's play Zaxo Leviathan. Follow it up with a little Seed. And swing for 9, just for the heck of it. We have a 13/13 Overwhelm, so we're in good shape there. Clan Tactic does spawn an answer. So we're losing some permanent power, but other than that, feeling pretty good. And Yushkov Brutal Tyrant promises a Karvet Palace of our own next turn, along with basically anything we can play off Zaxo. Could be fun times. Okay, getting a citywide ban. Citywide ban locks us out of a couple things. Channel the Tempest seems like the most likely. Locking us out of Yushkov Brutal Tyrant actually doesn't do anything, though, because we've already got our one out, so we're good on that front. Probably just block here and block here. Since there's gonna be another Harsh Roll, I'm guessing. Alakazam looking a little down on cards. Zaxo Leviathan triggers. Plays an Ijin. Channel the Tempest to the face. and a Recanosilix. To loot the Iron Gate, not the card we need right now. We have several treasure troves, though. Forbidden Research, same sort of issue. Oh, I do have a Yushkov Brutal Tyrant left, so we can discard that. Shadow there. Channel the Tempest to face. And with that, we get the 11-11 in. And that was a far more ridiculous game than I was planning for the Eternal Brew. Took a whole 20 minutes, actually, so I think that'll be the one game for this one. We do have more highlights from the stream that'll be showing up tomorrow as well, so look forward to those. As always, yeah, you can like and subscribe, and you'll be seeing those tomorrow too. So that's it for me for tonight, folks. To both YouTube and Twitch folks, thank you so much for watching. This was a delightful, delightful time. And yeah, I am very excited about the current format. There's a lot of ridiculous stuff happening here. The potential for shenanigans is extremely high, but also the decks appear to have a really good sense of internal balance that I think is going to be much more interesting in the future and for the longevity of the game. So I'm just really excited to keep going on with all these crazy brews. We will see you all with more of those very, very soon. All right, so thanks so much for watching. See you next time.